Representative of a famous agency in the entertainment industry is known as Spirit Hand. He says that whoever he lays eyes on is bound to become a superstar. Rude in his words and working only in his own way, this boss doesn't think about anyone else's emotions. One day, the company's top artist goes to eat roadside food without informing anyone, even though there was a shoot scheduled. His assistant immediately calls the boss, but the video call gets cut. The poor assistant runs behind the artist through several alleys and finally catches him in a dead-end lane. But the artist screams loudly, "I'm being kidnapped!" And while the assistant is trying to explain, a girl from the crowd hits him with a stick. This girl is a young and sweet girl. The artist uses the chance and runs away. The assistant calls the boss again. This time, the boss picks up the call and gets very angry on hearing that the artist ran away. The assistant, frustrated, cuts the phone and screams at the boss. When the shooting pressure increases, the assistant kneels in front of the girl, Yeling, and requests her to take the artist's place in the shoot. Otherwise, the boss will kill him. Yeling, who is a simple girl from the mountains, has no idea about urban tricks, but agrees to help. The boss also brings back the runaway artist by then. When the boss enters the studio, he pauses for a moment. Standing amidst the flashes, Yeling looks completely fresh and graceful. Maybe among the girls with heavy makeup, she brought a different kind of aura, which made the boss, Sehun, keep looking at her. Later, Sehun asks the assistant about Yeling and says that Yeling is an untouched gem whom he wants to train. On the other side, after the shoot, Yeling goes to change her clothes. Since she wasn't a company artist, no one paid attention to her. When she gives her dress to someone, her original clothes are not returned. She screams, but no one listens. So to get attention, she starts throwing things, which causes a crowd to gather. The assistant is sent inside to check, and Yeling, thinking he's a guy, directly throws something at him. At that moment, boss Sehun enters, full of swag. He holds Yeling's hand in front of everyone, but Yeling pulls away quickly, and Sehun loses his balance. Sehun looks at her. Yeling's beauty and elegance stuns him. Later, Sehun again goes to Yeling, but Yeling has no interest in celebrity life. She directly refuses. Sehun, who never hears no from anyone, holds her hand, but Yeling again pulls away. This time, Sehun pulls her towards himself in his best pose, but in the very next second, he falls to the ground and faints. Yeling is shocked, and the assistant quickly checks whether the boss is still alive or not. Sehun still keeps trying to win Yeling. He researches and finds out that Yeling only had one relative, her grandfather, who passed away some time ago. Nowadays, Yeling lives alone in the mountains, maybe because of ego or some personal reason, but now Sehun wants to bring this girl with him at any cost. When it came to the contract, Sehun himself reached Wutai Mountain. An uncle in the village below said, "The car can't go up," but Sehun never listened to anyone. He hit the accelerator and drove straight uphill, but the very next second, reality slapped him. Dressed in a suit and sunglasses looking classy, Sehun finally had to leave his luxury car and start hiking. In the beginning, he was confident, but soon he got tired. When he finally reached the top, he found himself on the edge of a cliff. He collapsed on the ground, feeling completely hopeless. Then he heard a dog barking in the distance. Following the sound, he saw a small hut. There was no human at the gate, only the sound of the dog. He was so tired that he collapsed near the door and fell asleep. When he woke up, it was already night. Suddenly, he heard something fall into the water. Despite his fear, Sehun went in that direction and saw Yeling floating on the water. He thought Yeling had committed suicide due to her grandfather's death and immediately jumped in. Hearing the sound, Yeling herself got up, curious about what fell into the water, but Sehun thought he saw a ghost. Both of them screamed together. Sehun was so scared that he got a muscle cramp, and Yeling also quickly came to the shore. Yeling was still trying to understand what happened, and Sehun was completely helpless. He had drowned in the water. The powerful agent of a big entertainment agency had now come all the way to the mountains to convince a village girl. But this same man was scared of the dark. There was no electricity in the house, so he lit all the candles. Then he saw a cupboard with stones in it, and Sehun's brain started working fast. Yeling jokingly said she raised a white snake and threw her grandfather's climbing rope at Sehun. When Sehun tried to stop her, Yeling understood his intentions. He knew that there should be distance between a boy and a girl, so he said, "Leave my hand." But Sehun was being stubborn, and to hide his insecurity, started talking about city things. There was some tension between them, and Sehun pulled her down to the floor. When he got close to her, he felt Yeling was glowing in a divine light. A soft smile appeared on Sehun's face. After a while, Yeling got up and left, and Sehun awkwardly kept looking. But when Yeling went to her room, Sehun came after her again, because whatever this man is, giving up is not in his dictionary. Sehun said he wanted to talk business and come inside, but how could a girl's personal room be accessed so easily? Yeling immediately picked up a stick and got ready, and Sehun had to leave, making a face. But as soon as he saw the darkness outside, the atmosphere became so scary that he set aside his self-respect and started knocking loudly on Yeling's door. Finally, Yeling let him come inside. Both slept tied with the same rope in one place. In the morning when Sehun woke up, he stood in the sunlight as usual and started his drama, asking for sunscreen and skincare cream. But Yeling only had 2 bottles. Sehun started remembering all the fancy products from his dressing table, but now in the deep mountains, he only had reused items. He even taught Yeling how to apply skincare, but Yeling got irritated by his over-beauty-conscious habit and directly said, "Go down." Yeling got busy with work, but Sehun had decided that he would make her an artist. While Yeling was working, Sehun kept talking behind her, but Yeling heard from one ear and let it out the other. Then Sehun lost patience and picked up the shovel himself and joined the work. He dried clothes, picked chilies, groceries, washed dishes, did everything. He had never done any of this in his life. At the same time, he patiently explained to Yeling how good it could be to become a celebrity. But Yeling, who was happy in mountain life, gave her final decision. You go back. While leaving, Sehun said, think again tomorrow, I'll call. Back in the city, Sehun realized his ego had been deeply hurt. He entered the rehearsal room with attitude, where trainees praised him and employees showed respect, but his mind was stuck in the mountains. He kept checking his phone all the time, hoping for a call or message. He would check his phone right after coming out of the bathroom. First thing after waking up, missed call check. Seeing all this, even the assistant got scared. Then Sehun screamed loudly, and the assistant quickly praised him to manage the situation. As soon as he returned to the company, breaking news flashed on TV. There had been heavy rain and landslides in Wutai Mountain. Meanwhile, Yeling was also very scared from the inside. Lightning, thunder, storm. She was holding her dog for comfort. Then she saw a shadow outside the door, and fear appeared in her eyes. The dog barked friendly, and when Yeling looked, Sehun was standing there, just like an angel. Yeling got emotional and hugged him tightly, and all her fear vanished in a moment. The house atmosphere suddenly became warm. Now in Sehun's heart, it was no longer just about finding talent. When he had first seen Yeling, a seed of love had already been planted in his heart. Their bond slowly started becoming an unknown emotional connection. The next day, when Yeling reports to the artist company, senior artists block her way. One senior sister, full of attitude, stops her. According to old tradition, new artists have to undergo training. They all take her to the rooftop. At that moment, tension peaks on both sides, and suddenly Sehun appears out of nowhere like a madman. The dance coach had told Sehun that some trainees took Yeling to the rooftop. The coach thought it was just normal bonding, but Sehun instantly gets furious. The coach can't understand, since when did the boss start getting affected by such small things? Without wasting a second, Sehun runs towards the rooftop. As soon as his presence is felt, all senior trainees quietly leave the place. When he sees that Yeling is safe, he breathes a sigh of relief. Even the assistant notices that Sehun's reaction is completely different from usual. When Sehun awkwardly tries to speak, the assistant gets full-body goosebumps. It's hard for him to even imagine their arrogant boss showing concern for someone. Then Sehun learns from the assistant that everyone is planning to go to the club at night. Hearing this, Sehun panics. Wild nightclub scenes begin spinning in his head. The assistant tries to stop him, but Sehun can only think one thing. I have to stop her. Sometime earlier, Yeling was practicing dance without any prior experience. Around her were handsome trainees, but she was sitting quietly in a corner. The dance coach said, make eye contact, be more natural. A senior sister joked, if you want to understand boys, go to the club once. And they even forcibly changed her outfit. Here comes Sehun, hiding in a corner, observing everything. Looking at Yeling's dress, he says, such a short skirt, but it looks good. As soon as the group leaves, Sehun relaxes a bit, but he still asks himself, what's happening to me? In the training room, a song is playing, and a trainee is singing heartfully. Suddenly, Sehun bursts in through the door. The assistant struggles to pull him out of there. Everyone is shocked, and the trainee is completely confused. Back home, Sehun immediately calls Yeling. When he finds out that Yeling is actually not at the club, his tension finally lessens. Sehun says to video call him on the tablet, since it's connected to the TV at his home. When Yeling's face appears on the screen, an innocent smile forms on Sehun's face. Just then, Yeling's doorbell rings. She thinks it's the assistant and goes to open the door. Sehun instantly gets serious and says, don't go. But before he can finish speaking, Yeling has already left. Sehun quickly calls again, but hears the sound of a phone falling, and his heart begins to panic. Now his real feelings come out. Without thinking, he runs towards Yeling's house. Every second feels longer. Climbing the stairs leaves him breathless, and he struggles even to enter the passcode. Just then, the gate opens, and it turns out the phone had just fallen due to vibration. When Sehun sees that Yeling is safe, all his tension leaves in one breath. His tired body gently leans on Yeling's shoulder, just like how he protected her during the Wutai Mountain landslide. Sehun never says his feelings out loud, but whenever Yeling is in trouble, he is the first to appear. A glamorous entertainment industry boss who controls the world has silently become vulnerable for a mountain girl. Even casually walking with Yeling had turned into a romantic fantasy in Sehun's mind. Every little thing, like hesitation or distance in a club, now seemed seductive and dreamy to him. Sehun was now living entirely in imagination and self-torture mode. The next day, he arrives at the practice room. Everything looks normal, but the moment he sees Yeling, it feels like she's literally radiating light. Nervously, Sehun looks away. While the trainees dance, Sehun feels restless and anxious and walks out of the room midway. Yeling follows and catches Sehun. Now Sehun can't even make eye contact. He awkwardly says he's busy and tries to leave, but as he turns, his hand instinctively moves to gently touch Yeling's head. Yeling is a bit shocked by the gesture, and Sehun sharply turns and hides in a corner, fighting with his own feelings. The assistant watches all this quietly. Then the assistant decides that Sehun needs proper how to love training. Charts, images, notes. A full romantic crash course begins. A few days later, Sehun arrives, fully dressed with a flower in hand, standing in front of Yeling. He thinks Yeling will get emotional, but Yeling gets mad that he picked the flower and spoiled the environment. As they reach their destination, Sehun remembers the assistant's tips. Opening the car door looks classy, but his movement is so slow that the door almost hits his stomach, and Sehun doubles over in pain. Then comes the restaurant entry. But Yeling opens the door herself, and when Sehun tries to pull the chair, she ends up pushing it all the way to the wall. Sehun becomes helpless. After sitting, he passes the menu but gets frustrated with Yeling taking time and blurts out what's on his mind. He quickly recovers, then he remembers the assistant's advice. Give her a compliment. But just as he's about to say something, he sees Yeling's glowing presence and loses his voice. Sehun finally tries his echo trick, taught by the assistant, but what was in his heart comes out the wrong way. And then Yeling says, "The MV is done. I'm going back to Wutai Mountain." Sehun is stunned. Everything feels empty. He can't say anything. Those 3 simple words, "I like you," remain stuck in his throat. After Yeling leaves, Sehun is filled with emptiness. Every day he talks to a doll, cries over sad songs, and his heart is completely broken. Even in the practice room, he starts hallucinating, imagining Yeling sitting there. Life now felt like a dream, and when that dream broke, Sehun's emotional barrier broke too. Even though the assistant tries to stop him, Sehun's heart is being pulled in only one direction, the path that leads to Yeling's heart. He crosses mountains, rivers, and cities to reach Yeling's house, but everything is empty there. The house is silent and Yeling is gone. In the darkness of night, Sehun sits alone at the table with cake and drinks, pouring out his heart's pain to the assistant. It wasn't a birthday party, it was a breakup night. Sadness, sweets, soda, all together. And the assistant, who listens to his heartbreak till 3 a.m., is now on the verge of passing out. Because of the boss's constant talking, Sehun's mood had become completely hopeless. He kept saying that he didn't care about Yeling, but in reality, he kept asking the assistant over and over why they still hadn't found her. The assistant felt like he was being tortured, and on top of that, Sehun would sometimes grab a tissue and cry. Just when Sehun was about to give up, he suddenly saw her at the turn, the very one his heart longed for. At that moment, it felt like time froze for Sehun. When he came to his senses, he tried to confirm that he wasn't hallucinating. This time, he decided he wouldn't lose Yeling again. In conversation, he found out that Yeling had now shifted to her aunt's house. Letting go of his ego, Sehun himself gave her his number so they could stay in contact. When he returned to the company and began telling the assistant about this fated encounter, Yeling's call suddenly came through. Sehun's expression shifted from happiness to seriousness. As soon as the call ended, the assistant anxiously asked what happened, and Sehun stuttered like he had just won the lottery. That night, Sehun dressed up completely, took flowers and wine, and arrived at Yeling's house. He sprayed perfume, walked in with a mischievous smile, expecting a romantic moment, but Yeling simply thanked him by cooking dinner herself. After dinner, Sehun finally confessed his feelings, but right at that moment, a call came from a rival company. Sehun found out that Yeling had been in touch with them. Without telling him, jealous, Sehun reacted. They argued, and the two separated in anger, but destiny brought them together again at a nightclub. To test her, Sehun started getting close to another girl. Yeling quietly watched. He decided it was better to stay away from Sehun, but due to all the emotional stress, Yeling fell sick. Unaware, Sehun kept waiting for a phone call, and the call did come, but it was because Yeling had landed in the emergency room. His aunt was away on a trip, so for admission, Yeling contacted Sehun. He rushed over, filled out the paperwork, but there were no rooms available, only the waiting hall. Sehun sat by her side the entire night. When drunk patients began making noise in the hospital, Sehun showed his soft side. He gently covered Yeling's ears with his hands and softly said, "Now it's just me and you in this world." The next morning, Sehun arranged a high-end private ward. In the lift, he gently carried Yeling to the bed with his strong arms, set everything up, and then went to the office. He returned to the hospital early in the afternoon. When he saw someone else had sent a teddy bear, he lightly kicked it aside with one foot and placed his own flowers in the center spot. When he looked for Yeling in the lounge, he saw her laughing with a doctor. But that doctor wasn't her personal physician. That was it. Sehun gently hugged Yeling with one arm, declared his presence, and with a confident smile, politely pushed the doctor out of the way. Because maybe only a man can truly understand another man. When another man gave Yeling a coat to wear, Sehun removed it and put his own jacket on her shoulders. Yeling didn't quite understand the gesture and looked confused. So Sehun expressed his feelings with a kiss, but Yeling reflexively slapped him. After being discharged from the hospital, Yeling received a message from her sister. It said Sehun was shifting to China. Hearing this, Yeling's heart panicked. It was raining, but without thinking, he rushed out to find Sehun. Along the way, memories of all their moments together flashed through his mind. Every small encounter, every smile, every awkward moment. That's when he realized true feelings only become clear when you're about to lose someone. While running in the rain, Yeling dropped his phone, and just as he bent to pick it up, a speeding car headed straight toward him. At that moment, a hand pulled him back, and when he looked up, Sehun was standing in front of him. In that moment, Yeling finally expressed his emotions, hugging Sehun tightly and responding to his love. Sehun gently wiped the raindrops from Yeling's face with love. Their hearts completely opened up to each other. Rain poured all around them, but their world was just about each other. Inside the car, they grew even closer, and their love began to fully bloom. Outside the car, the assistant was getting soaked too, but he was tracking every moment. He already had a towel prepared, quietly crouching near the car because a successful love story always needs a smart, perfectly timed assistant. Later, when they were walking together on a forest path, Sehun's one-sided classy love had now become a sweet, mutual relationship. Yeling had also finally found a place he could call home. Perhaps the most beautiful thing in the world is when the one you love loves you back the same way. And with that, this beautiful story ends.